Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about another 5 new foundations that I've been trying out on my skin recently. I've really put these foundations through their paces. I'm going to show you application, I'm going to tell you how these feel on the skin, how these wear throughout the day, as well as showing you my wear test results, showing you these not only in studio lighting but also in natural lighting as well. So hopefully by the end of this video you will have all of the information that you need to decide whether these foundations are for you or not. They're definitely not all my favorites, so let's get straight on with it. If you are new here, hi, my name's Gemma. I upload new beauty content on this channel every single week. If you haven't subscribed already, I'd love it if you do that before you leave this video today. Click on that like button and the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos like these. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Let's get on. First up, I want to talk about the viral Tear foundation. This is not new to the market, but I finally got my hands on it to try it because so many people are talking about it at the moment. I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. So I'm not usually a fan of cushion foundations. They're perfectly beautiful foundations, but I don't find myself gravitating towards them. I'm not quite sure why. I don't have a reason, but I thought it was about time I tried this. This is the Tear Mask Fit Red Cushion. It actually has an SPF of 40 in here with a PA rating of ++. This is not to be used as your standalone SPF, but it's great as an added topper. I didn't find one particular price point for this. They were all different. Every website had their own price. So the most affordable price that I found was £13.99. You get 18 grams worth of product or 0.63 ounces. This comes in 18 shades. I've gone for the shade 21N Ivory. It's not particularly a diverse shade range. This is a Korean brand, so they tend to cater for their own skin tones only. However, with feedback to the brand, they have started to introduce some deeper shades into their range. So although it's not diverse at the moment, could do better, it is going in the right direction. I really like the packaging. It's really sturdy, it's well designed, it's a red compact which includes a mirror, and it also includes an application pad which fits really nicely underneath the cushion. Considering this is a cushion foundation and cushion foundations tend to give you light to medium coverage, this is going to give you really high coverage if that's what you require. It's going to give a semi-matte finish which is long wearing, lightweight, and it can reduce shine whilst hydrating the skin. This is full of antioxidants, anti-inflammatory ingredients, brightening ingredients, including niacinamide and propolis extract. This is alcohol-free and cruelty-free. It does contain a fragrance, which is a mild citrusy fragrance. If you're opposed to that, this is definitely not going to be for you. Usually citrusy fragrances are my jam, but this one, I'm not overly keen on it. It's not overpowering though, so I can definitely put up with it. It's a different experience applying this foundation. I did apply some of it with a brush to see how it applied. It is super pigmented, so you need to make sure you don't have too much on your brush, otherwise it can look very heavy. The applicator that comes with this is extremely non-porous, so none of this is going to sink into the applicator, which means you get all of the product on your skin. You do not need to press too hard into the cushion to pick up quite a lot of product. Once you've got the product on the applicator, tap off any excess onto the cushion cover to remove any excess product before you go in to the skin. This applies really well once you've got the hang of it. It looks very dewy at first, but then it dries down to a more natural, radiant finish. The shade was definitely too fair for me, but one word of warning with this product, it oxidizes like mad, or at least the shade 21N oxidizes on me, and I would say it goes at least 1 to 2 shades deeper by the end of the day than it looks at the beginning on first application. Although in my opinion, I don't think this is a perfecting foundation, so it's not going to be a foundation that's going to airbrush away all of your imperfections, any large pores. I do think this is incredibly smoothing. In fact, on one of the days that I was testing out this foundation, my mum complimented me on how my skin looked. She said my skin looked absolutely superb that day, which surprised me slightly because I thought I'd applied maybe a little bit too much much that morning, but my mum seemed to think otherwise. She thought it looked absolutely beautiful, and my skin just looked like a better version of itself. It still looked like skin. Another thing I have found with this foundation though, if you do apply too much, and it is very, very easy to do, it can look a little bit mask-like. So it's taken me a while to perfect the application and really get to grips with the applicator, because I do think the best way of applying this foundation is with the applicator that it comes with. I was really impressed by the longevity of this foundation. It was all still intact on my skin after a very long 10-hour wear test. So very, very impressed with that. It did look a little bit dewier than it did after this has settled down after initial application, but I can definitely put up with that. It did look a little bit heavier as the day progressed though, so that's another thing to take note of. I don't think my skin looked as skin-like at the end of the day as it did at the beginning. I do really like this foundation though, and that's blown me away a little bit, because usually I sit in the middle as a medium coverage type of girl. I don't usually stray from that preference, and this is high coverage, and I really enjoyed using it. In fact, I was quite sad when I had to move on to testing out the next foundation, but you know, that's by the by. It's really nice. Would I choose to wear it every day? No, because it's high coverage, but I do think it fits a purpose. It is definitely not transfer resistant, or at least it wasn't for me. I don't think they claim that on the website anyway, so I can't be mad at something it's not saying it's actually going to do, but it definitely didn't do that for me. But even so, still all intact at the end of the day, so I can't grumble. If you don't have time to sit and master a new foundation application technique, then I don't think this is going to be for you, because it did take me a good few days to get used to applying the foundation with a little pad and really tapping it onto my skin rather than using something that I think is more convenient like a brush. So yeah, if you are not up for learning a new way of applying foundation, I don't think you're going to get the best out of this. Next up, I want to touch on the Tom Ford Architecture Soft Matte Foundation. I have spoken about this several times on my channel already. I want to just go through the points in this video and show you the wear test and just discuss my thoughts and feelings, because I have many about this foundation and it's not all good. This is the Tom Ford Architecture Soft Matte Blurring Foundation. It is £120. You get 30 ml worth of product, or 1 fluid ounce. Comes in 40 shades. I've gone for the shade 1.3 Nude Ivory, which is perfection on my skin. This comes in a glass bottle with a pump. It's very classy. It's beautiful to look at. I know that's not important to a lot of people, but you are paying handsomely for the packaging here, so it's a good job. I like it. This is going to give you medium coverage with a soft matte finish. It's a liquid to powder formulation with soft focus microsphere powders within the formula that really do help this to dry down and really smooth and airbrush throughout the day. This is long wearing, and it says that it's non-creasing and it won't settle in pores, fine lines and wrinkles. It also says it's transfer resistant, waterproof, sweat and humidity resistant, and it's oil controlling. It does have vitamin E and other antioxidants within the formula, as well as arginine, which is Botox in a bottle, and vitamin C, sodium hyaluronate, glycerin, and cholesterol. So as well as it having those microspheres and oil control technology, it's also going to be really hydrating and nourishing on the skin. This is alcohol-free. It does contain a zesty fragrance, but it's a zesty fragrance that I actually really like, and it doesn't stick around for a really long time. So I love the finish of this. It's really airbrushing and it lasts for an incredibly long time on me. This does react differently though, depending on what skincare I team underneath it. I thought it was just my Dr. Sam's vitamin C that was causing the issue at first. It is not. It is a lot of the skincare that I have. If I happen to over apply first thing in the morning, if my skin is really dry and needs a bit of a boost, even if I let my skincare sink in for an hour, this sometimes looks awful. And on the day that I filmed the wear test, you will see that around my brows especially and around my nose, it's looking a little bit heavy. That's nothing to do with how I applied the foundation and everything to do with what's underneath it. I do not have this problem with any other foundation in my collection. It is just this one. Because this has that oil controlling technology, I thought this would sit in my dryness and emphasize my dryness. And actually, although I've heard a lot of reports from other YouTubers to say that they thought it did cling to dryness, I didn't actually get that when I was trying this out, and I have tried this out for the longest possible time because I do not like to be defeated, especially when on some days I get the most glorious perfected finish to my skin, but there's just no rhyme or reason for it. On other days, it just doesn't look right and lifts like no one's business. And this is a transfer resistant formula. On some days it is transfer resistant, on other days it's just not. I would say 8 days out of 10, this looks absolutely stunning on my skin and I have great makeup days. But is 8 days out of 10 worth the £120 price tag? Those 2 days are so frustrating. And what it all boils down to is that this is just a finicky foundation. It likes what it likes and it doesn't like what it doesn't like. And I still can't pinpoint what it doesn't like. And until I do, I can't recommend it to anybody, especially if you've got a really special occasion to go to and you need your makeup to be perfect and you're applying your makeup in a rush. Unless you have all day to make sure that your face looks beautiful, I wouldn't risk this because it's just too up in the air. I don't know what to do with it. I really don't. From the ridiculously expensive to the affordable, this is a new product from Revlon. It's the Illuminance Serum Tint. And it does exactly what it says it's going to do. This is a skin tint slash foundation, so you can get a decent amount of coverage for this, but you can also sheer this out. This is going to set you back £14.99 and you get 28 mils of product, which is slightly less than standard, which is a little bit disappointing. I'm not quite sure why they couldn't give you 30 mils for the same price, but it is what it is. This comes in 16 different shades, which is disappointing, but it's an affordable brand. A lot of affordable brands only offer a limited selection. What I do like about the Revlon shade range, though, is that they label the undertones. So it's not a guessing game when you get into the store to see which one suits your skin best. You can make a guess online, and that's what I did. I got it wrong, but it has been rectified. So initially I bought the shade Light Beige 117, and that is what you're seeing me apply in this video today, but I have since been out and bought my correct shade, which is Buff Beige 209. So if you are my shade twin, that is the one to go for. This comes in a plastic squeezy tube. It's really easy to dispense the product, which is a light, creamy, gel-like consistency. This is going to give you light coverage with a natural, radiant finish. It's got some skincare ingredients in there: hyaluronic acid, vitamin E, as well as vitamin C and ginger root extract, which is a great antioxidant, and it's also very, very soothing. It's alcohol-free, but it does contain a fragrance. The fragrance is quite perfumey. I don't think it's massively overpowering, but you can definitely smell it. If you prefer, you can definitely apply this with your fingers or with a sponge or with a brush. I've done all methods of application. Both are very similar. You get a lot sheerer finish if you apply this with a damp sponge. I, once again, prefer to apply this with a brush. I think you get a beautiful finish. You do have to be a little bit more careful because this is a gel-like consistency. If you really like to swipe on your foundation, you are going to get brush strokes. So I like to pat my foundation in place even with a brush and get a beautiful finish with this. On first application, this looked so dewy, it actually looked wet, and I thought, oh no, I am going to absolutely despise this foundation. But it turns out that after a while, this does dry down and settle into the skin and looks much more of a radiant finish rather than dewy, which I was very relieved to see. Even when this has dried down, this does still have a little bit of tackiness on the surface of the skin. I don't think that is uncomfortable. I think this is a really comfortable foundation to wear, but if you do want to get rid of that tackiness, you are going to have to powder this in place. I did like the look of this with a little bit of powder, especially over my oilier areas, my texture, and my larger pores. As long as you can put up with that tackiness on the surface of the skin though, powder is not a necessity with this foundation. That being said, this is not transfer resistant, so do expect some lift if you are a face toucher or you have anything pressed up against your skin. It is so lightweight and beautiful on the skin. Definitely one for those summer months where you're wanting something in between a tinted moisturizer and a foundation. This would definitely be a recommendation, especially if you're after something super affordable. I really like this, and it lasted a really long time for something with this level of coverage and this consistency. So I was impressed, really impressed. Impressed enough to buy my correct shade in this. Usually if I wasn't impressed at all, I would have just thrown it in the cupboard and forgotten about it. But actually I will get my wear out of this in the summer. I thought it was lovely, and it's one of those products that you would expect to start sliding off your face after the 4-hour mark-ish, 4 to 5 hours, and that would be it. And actually I wore this for a full 10 hours and it was lovely. Yes, it's going to look a lot dewier at the end of the day. All my foundations, even the matte ones, look dewier, so if you are not going to like that, considering the level of dewiness or radiance that you get on first application and knowing it's going to be even more dewy at the end of the day, then this isn't going to be for you. But I really like it, and for the money, I just think you can't go wrong if you're after this sort of product. Definitely worth a try. Next up, we've got the Natasha Denona High Glam Powder Foundation. I was a little skeptical when I bought this. I mean, obviously I was going to buy it and try it out for several days because I like doing these foundation roundups for everybody, but it's super expensive for one, and two, I never thought it would come close to my Bare Minerals Bare Pro Powder Foundation, which is my ride or die for quick application and out the door. Let me just say straight from the bat, this is nothing like the Bare Pro powder from Bare Minerals. It reacts completely differently. It's a different texture. It's just, it couldn't be further from the Bare Pro, but it does have its positives and its negatives. So this is the Natasha Denona High Glam Powder Foundation. It is £52 in the UK and you get 12.5 grams of product. Comes in 36 different shades. I've gone for the shade N2, which is fair to light with neutral undertones. It is a refillable pan. It's very simple. It's very elegantly designed. It's sturdy packaging with a mirror. There's nothing flashy about it, which I think is really nice. This says it's going to give medium buildable coverage and give a matte finish. It's alcohol-free, fragrance-free, and essential oil-free, as well as being cruelty-free to boot. It's very smoothing and airbrushing and incredibly lightweight, whilst not being drying at all. This doesn't sit in any of my dryness or any of my pores. It's also not overly powdery, which is very similar in that sense to the Bare Minerals powder, but this one is much lighter in weight and also lighter in coverage as far as I'm concerned. It's also long-lasting. I did expect the same level of coverage as I got with the High Glam Concealer, And although this took me off guard, the level of coverage that this actually gave, I was not disappointed. I think this is a more skin-like powder foundation, which is definitely welcomed on my part. It does come with a non-porous sponge, which offers more coverage, but I found the sponge a little bit difficult to hold, and although I think the sponge is there to make sure that you get the most out of the product that you're buying, I do think it applies a little bit better and blends a little bit smoother with a velour puff than the sponge that comes with the product. So if you are wanting to apply this with a sponge, I would definitely go down that route rather than faff around with the sponge that's actually within the packaging, which I'm sure is absolutely phenomenal for some, but I just can't make it work for me. I thought the makeup looked a little patchy when I started to apply. So brush application is my application of choice. With a brush, this is really quick to apply. You aren't going to get as much coverage with a brush as you would do with a sponge, but I do think it looks incredibly beautiful. You can definitely still see my skin poking through, but it's just a better, more refreshed version of my skin rather than bare skin itself. Please don't let me dissuade you on the coverage department. If you do apply this with a powder puff or in fact the sponge that comes with the product, you are going to get much higher coverage and definitely get that medium coverage that is advertised on the website. With a brush, slightly less so, and I prefer it. After 10 hours, this was all still present on my skin, which surprised me because this is such a lightweight foundation. Dare I say it's weightless? I think I do. I think we can put that on this foundation. It is so super lightweight. I wasn't expecting it to last for as long as it did. Talking about lightweight, I think this feels like a translucent powder on the skin rather than any sort of powder foundation. It is incredibly comfortable, and after 10 hours this did not look cakey at all in any of my oilier areas around my nose, on my chin, in between my brows. It was not only still present, but it looked lovely. If I'm wanting my foundation to last all day, wanting something incredibly lightweight, but also having something not only skin-like, but very quick to apply, this is the one that I will go for. And I think it's really nice. It is a triumph from Natasha Denona. Usually I'm not a massive fan of other Natasha Denona products other than her eyeshadow palettes, and this I can get on board with. And last up, we've got the Fenty Soft Lip Foundation. Spoiler alert, this is my favorite foundation within this video. I just think it's a lovely foundation. It's the one that I have on my skin today. I just think it's glowy, but it's got the right level of glowiness. And also, this is one of those foundations that will give you that glow whilst also airbrushing and smoothing the skin, which is very, very difficult to do, especially at this price point, and this does it in spades. This is the Fenty Soft Lit Naturally Luminous Longwear Foundation. This comes in a hexagonal frosted glass bottle with a pump. Be careful not to drop this because it will smash, but it's simple, it's very classy. The consistency of the product is incredibly light. It'll set you back £34 in the UK. You get 32 mils worth of product or 1.08 fluid ounces. This comes in 50 shades. I've gone for the shade 150, which is for light skin tones with a neutral undertone. I do think this is a cool neutral rather than a full-on neutral though, so that's definitely something to bear in mind if you are my shade twin. It's going to give you medium coverage with a soft luminous finish. It's also long wearing, lightweight, sweat, humidity and transfer and crease resistant. It's also waterproof. It's incredibly brightening. You've got lots of antioxidants within the formula as well as hydrating ingredients as well. And it's alcohol, fragrance and cruelty free. I'm not gonna lie, I was quite disappointed when I first applied this because it was a lot dewier than it actually was when it dried down. There's been a running theme throughout this video, I think, but when it dried down, it was incredibly beautiful. Like I said at the beginning of this segment, really airbrushing and smoothing while still giving you that glow from within look, which is incredibly youthful. If you apply this in small quantities, it's completely undetectable on the skin. I do like to add a little bit of powder over the top of this foundation to give it an even more airbrushing effect. And because I have quite an oily T-zone, this does go dewier throughout the day anyway, so I can afford to add a little bit of powder at the beginning of the day and not touch up throughout the day. This foundation just looks lovely and just makes my skin look alive. For me, there was no oxidation with the shade 150. This formula stayed true to shade all day long, which I was incredibly impressed about. I really get very irritated by those foundations that get deeper throughout the day. Maybe you've not looked in a mirror all day and then all of a sudden you look and think, who are you? Anyway, this does not oxidize in my opinion, and it stays put all day. On the longest wear test, I wore this for 14 hours and it still looked lovely. Yes, a lot dewier, but all the foundation was still intact on my skin and it still looked nice. Funnily enough, this probably wasn't the best wear test that I had with this foundation throughout the week, but it's the one that I filmed for everybody, so I need to show it you. There are portions of my skin with less foundation on than others. Had I touched this foundation up throughout the day with powder, that would not have happened, but I make sure that I don't do that during wear tests just to make sure that you don't have to do that at home if you purchase this foundation. And although this did go dewier and probably didn't look the most flattering at the end of the day than some of the other foundations that I've talked about in this video, this is still my favorite. 10 hours is all I need my foundation to last throughout the day. I don't really need it to go for longer. In fact, I could probably have it last a lot less than 10 hours, but I just feel like this gives me what I need with the overall longevity of the foundation, but also the overall finish of the foundation and how it makes my skin look. So, probably not my mum's favorite foundation on me. She really likes the Tier, but this is my favorite in this video, without a doubt. So that's it for this video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know which your favorite foundation was. Which one do you think would suit your skin best? Because we are all different. We also do different things throughout the day and need our foundation to last different lengths. We all want different levels of coverage, different finishes. So which one was your favorite? Let me know in the comments section. Please don't forget to like and subscribe before you leave. I've put another couple of videos over here which I think you may enjoy if you've enjoyed this one. Hope to see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.